What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. If it's your first time on the channel, welcome to the channel. We have a brand new series for you today, the Nashville Stars. Yes, as you can tell, we are taking over the formerly known Tampa Bay Rays. Obviously, their stadium, Tropicana Field, is one of the worst stadiums in baseball. So we will be taking over the Tampa Bay Rays and moving them up to Nashville, Tennessee. Another wrinkle that's going to be in this rebuild / franchise series is the Las Vegas Athletics. Yes, as of recording this, probably a week or two ago, the Oakland Athletics franchise bought land in Las Vegas. It got approved. They will be moving there roughly 2024-2025 season, and I just went ahead and created their stadium. I shouldn't say me. I downloaded their stadium, put their semi-tweaked uniforms. I'll show them to you here. As you see, they got the new Las Vegas on them. They're not the prettiest by any means, but, you know, it's new. The away uniforms are just basically what they used to be, and then the home ones have the Las Vegas logo on it. If you look at the stadium here, I'll show it to you before we hop in to this series. It is basically Las Vegas in the background with what looks to be glass, but also could just be poles on the outside there. Just looks new, refreshing for an Oakland stadium that nobody attends anymore. So that's why they are moving. It holds 43,000. Will that many people show up to Las Vegas games? Maybe. But as long as that team is the way it is, it'll be a while. And then I'll show you the new stadium for the Nashville Stars, and I'll show you the uniforms. I took a while to create these. Obviously, Nashville being one of the newer teams that are interested in becoming a franchise for the MLB. Could be an expansion team, could just take over a team like Tampa Bay, who should be willing to relocate if they don't plan on rebuilding or retooling their stadium, Tropicana Field. This is not what you want to see. You want to see the home uniforms, as you see here. Pretty simple, pretty basic, just tan for the home and blue for the away. Took a little bit more time with this because this is the team that we will be controlling, and we'll show the stadium here. Nashville is known for Music City. We have a little steakhouse in the city. Brand new field. Holds 52,000. We will try to fill every seat of that in these first couple of years. As you see Nashville hanging up on that top left corner. Whoever did this, props to you. A lot of work has been done. Might throw a guitar in there somewhere, as obviously Nashville is the music city hub, but we will go ahead and take them over and start this franchise. Obviously, we're going to leave everything the way that it is, except for GM contracts. We will turn that off just in case the first couple of years don't go as planned and we get fired, because then the whole series will basically be worthless. So everything else is good. We will manually do everything. We'll start in spring training just so you can get a look at the team, and we'll do a spring training episode here. First thing I want to do is scouts. Scouting is a brand new system in this year's game in MLB The Show 23, and I want to take full advantage of it. Obviously, we pick probably in the 20s, as the Tampa Bay Rays were pretty good last year. But we will try to get some of the best scouts that we can on this team. And Ryan Sanford is one of those guys. Can we afford him? No, we cannot. We will take over Rico Bliss here. Okay, so I took a little bit and I rearranged some of the scouts that we did. I allocated all the money that we could, as obviously we see at the top right there, $600 remaining. For our scouting budget, we've used as much as we possibly can. I think we got some good ones, though. Alex Hardy, pretty decent around the board. All of these are good position player-wise, which, if you know the Tampa Bay Rays, they don't need much help on pitching as far as prospects go. But these are all good pitching prospects, or scouts and position player scouts. I do like Ryan Sanford with his discovery and efficiency. Elliot Gonzalez's efficiency is through the roof. And then Alex Hardy is just well-rounded. That's enough for the scouts. We will leave the coaches this year, even though Nolan Miles is garbage. Kevin Cash, obviously, very controversial. He's got 4 years left on his deal, so he will be our manager throughout the rebuild. Another thing I want to mention is I took the liberty in my own hands of adding a few wrinkles into the roster. Obviously, we are in, May? Almost May when I'm recording this, April 28th. So we're about a month and a half away from the draft. I went ahead and took the liberty in my own hands, made some of the prospects, i.e. Dylan Cruz, for teams that, are mocked. So obviously, Pirates have the number one pick this year. Dylan Cruz is the number one prospect. I went ahead and threw him on the Pirates. Whether that'll happen in real life, who'll know, but we've got a few of them in here. I don't want to make him too good because that's not as realistic. Obviously, I might lower the ratings for Max Clark, Walter Jenkins, two guys that should be drafted. DeLaunder, I'll leave up here, pitcher out of Tennessee. And then there should be one more. There should be a pitcher from Skeens. Pitcher out of LSU, Paul Skeens here. I'll leave those three at the top. Those are most likely the consensus on three, the best pitchers and the best position player. And then I might drop down guys like Max Clark, Walter Jenkins, Jacob Gonzalez, just to, make it a little bit more realistic so that guys that are here in real life can get back up into this top 50 rankings. I also took the liberty of making the top 50 what it was before I added these prospects. So guys like Jordan Walker, who are criminally underrated in the regular roster, are well represented in this franchise, along with Ellie De La Cruz, Grayson Rodriguez, guys that should be at the top, Chirio, Perez. So realism is a big thing for me in this series. As we'll take a look at the roster, obviously the mainstay, the guy that we'll be building around is Shane McClanahan. Had an enormous last year, 2.54 ERA, 0.3 WHIP, a WHIP under 1 with 18 games started. Obviously 12-8, not the best, but it's not his fault. He did everything he could. 38 walks to 194 strikeouts. I mean, that is an insane season. We hope he can do, half of that. Even the 2021 season, his rookie year, we will take. He is an absolute stud, 25 years old. We will be locking him up for the long term, probably in the middle of this season. Not something the Rays do a lot is give out big contracts, but Shane McClanahan is definitely worth one of those. And I think the other guy, obviously Wander Franco, already got his big deal last year. Hopefully he can still progress and be the guy that he was meant to be, which is an absolute stud here for what was Tampa Bay, now the Nashville Stars. Back to our starting pitching. Obviously, Tyler Glasnow injured all of last year, only started 2 games before he had Tommy John surgery, I believe. And of course, he blamed it on the sticky substance rule change in the middle of last year. Really, to the beginning, it was like 2 or 3 games in. I shouldn't say 2 or 3 weeks in, and they changed the rule. And on his next start, he threw maybe an inning and threw his arm out. Not what you want to see, but hopefully he can come back and be what he was in 2021. And then guys down here that are getting a little older, guys we won't pay. We'll pay people their arbitration. $7.8 million for Jeffrey Springs might be a little much. Might have to get him off the books. I say that only because the Tampa Bay Rays do not have a lot of money, as they are more known as the Moneyball Squad. Zach Eflin getting 13.3. I mean, these guys will not be in our long-term future. Guys like Shane Baz, Brandon McKay's 27, so maybe not, but Luis Patino, Taj Bradley is the main one for me. Like I said earlier, pitching is not the problem with this team. We will have plenty of prospects to fill in for that 3, 4, 5 spot, even if Glasnow leaves. I mean, we have guys that will step up. As far as their relievers go, Pete Fairbanks is the top guy. Obviously, kind of took off in that 2020 season when they went to the World Series in the pandemic. Did they go to the World Series that year? I think that was the year they went to the World Series. And then was tremendous last year, obviously. But only played in 24 games compared to the 47 in 2021. Just an interesting group here. After that, it kind of gets a little thin. Colin Pache, not a terrible year last year, not a great year. ERA is a little high, but the whip's pretty good. None of these guys are really future spots for this team. 28, 29 years old. Maybe if they have a good couple of years, they can stay around, but we'll be looking for relievers eventually. And then Jason Adam and Andrew Kittledge, two closers that one of them will be a setup guy, probably Kittledge, being 33 years old, although he had a monster season last year, 2021, And then Jason Adam, also great year last year. Hopefully these two can stay up, but again, they're 33 and 31. Depending on when we're trying to be good, and this team isn't too far away. This is why it's an interesting series, more of a relocation series than a rebuild series type. Catcher, we have to get a catcher. As much as I love Bethancourt, and by God, I love Bethancourt. His 143 average down here in his 8 games played. Hit 250 last year, so not bad, but Francisco Mejia is not ever going to be good. He's got a really good arm and good contact left, but that's about it. He'll never be the future piece, and then after that, it's pretty bad. So catcher could be a position that we look at. First base could be a position we look at. So obviously the roster that MLB provides is lackluster, to say the least. There's a guy named Xavier Edwards. He's a first baseman. He's got insane power. I think he was drafted 2 years ago. And when I think he was drafted, I think he was a two-way player coming out. I could be wrong about that. Somebody let me know, but I might have to add him into this roster at least and see how that goes. Because that would be a player that I'm at least excited for, to see if he could possibly develop in the future. Obviously, Brandon Lau being our second baseman, 28 years old. Again, that 2020 year or 2021 year. Maybe it was 2021. I can't get the years right because of COVID, but 39 bombs 2 years ago. Just looking to get half of that. If I can get 20, 19, it's better than 8. 221 average, not good last year, on base of 308. I just need Brandon Lau to be decent. He's making minimal money for the next 4 years. We'll keep him for those 4 years until he's 32, and then kind of reevaluate that position. Vidal Brujan, another guy who is just not going to develop for this team. Him and Mejia were great prospects at one point, but they've kind of become, I wouldn't say busts, but they've kind of become no longer top prospects, as they're out of the age range, and I guess technically they're not, but MLB service, he's almost to a month. I think that's how that works. Either way, he's not good enough to be in the MLB. 63 overall, 25 years old. Not going to cut it. Yanni Diaz, on-base machine. OBP of 401 last year. OPS of 824 with a 296 average. Great year last year. He'll be somebody that I look to keep for at least a little bit. Just a guy that gets on base. Could be leading off in our lineup. Depends on who it is. He might play first until we get a first baseman. And then Isaac Paredes, the guy from the Detroit Tigers, they traded Austin Meadows for, who Austin Meadows was good in Tampa Bay, now is terrible with the Tigers. Paredes, terrible with the Tigers, now good with Tampa Bay. So maybe it's just the system and the team. I say good. He hasn't really been that great, actually. The numbers just look good. He actually looks like he's not done well so far. 20 home runs last year, but only batting .205. We'll see if we can get that average up a little bit. And then Curtis Mead he is the top prospect for this team. third baseman, 22 overall, 8 potential from Australia. Got great fielding stats. Just waiting on those hitting numbers to pop off. So we're going to keep him maybe in AA, possibly in the AAA for the next 2 seasons, I would guess. And he will take over as our long-term third baseman. Great arm, great fielding, and that'll only get better with time. Junior Caminero, I don't think I'm saying that right. Obviously from the Dominican Republic. Another decent fielding stats, decent speed for a third baseman. Might be able to play him at second at 5'11", 157. Him being at third base is honestly ridiculous. I'm actually going to change that now. Jonathan Aranda is another guy we didn't talk about. Obviously, it's hard to say that he's going to be exciting when we just told you that Vidal Brujan is not, and they're only an age difference. He's got less potential than Brujan, but Brujan we've been waiting on for 4 or 5 years. And then Camareno, move him to second base. The fielding, I mean, he looks fine as a second baseman, but another prospect will be interesting. Wander Franco is going to be our shortstop forever. Obviously, he's got a big contract. Going to try to get him above 300 on base. Hopefully going to get close to 400. Looking for those power numbers to jump up a little bit. 6 and 7 home runs. And hopefully with us playing a little bit will help that. Carson Williams, another top prospect for this team. Starting the single A, we're going to throw him in double A immediately. 19 years old, 65 overall. Looks pretty solid. Again, good fielding stats, just not well versed in the hitting department. Seems to be the common thing with a lot of these guys. Greg Jones, another guy, speed. That's about it. That's about it for him. Randy Rosarena obviously had a tremendous WBC. Hopefully he can carry that in real life as they have, as Tampa Bay started off, I think, 13-0 this year. But hopefully the game kind of realizes that and lets him get off to a hot start. Center field's up for grabs. Jose Siri. I mean, he's got great speed, great fielding, great reaction. Just doesn't really get on base. 213 and 268 last year. Interesting player. But probably looking to upgrade him. Josh Lowe, maybe the guy, maybe not. 25 years old, 67 overall. Brock Jones is a guy I'm excited for. 21 years old. He's decent across the board except for the hitting. Seems to be a common theme with this Rays team, i.e. the Nashville Stars. Manuel Margot, obviously part of that great run from a few years ago, and then no prospects behind him. So that is the team. Lineup-wise, we'll figure that out. This is just spring training. We'll just get through this. We won't do any contract extensions right now because in real life, none of these guys got extended, as far as I know, up to this point. So we will go ahead and go through this spring training and then just kind of take a look at the numbers. Did that say he got injured? Was that Shane McClanahan? Okay. Finger contusion. He should be back for opening day. We will take a look at these numbers. Randy Rosarena not carrying over from the WBC. Obviously, didn't play in spring training because of that. 274, 313, Brandon Lau. Hopefully he can keep that up. And that's about it. Wander, 258, not great. All right, so nobody really hit the ball well except for Josh Lau. Some more guys that I forgot to mention earlier. I added a few WBC future players, guys that will get contracts at some point in the near future, I would assume. Murakami, third baseman from Japan, absolutely rakes the baseball power-wise. They got him making 11.9 the next 3 years. Probably not going to be the contract he gets. Usually Japan players get a 5-year deal, kind of like Shohei did coming out, but 23 years old. Potential's through the roof, and I put him on the Giants just because the Giants always have money, and they're always looking to spend it. So I thought that was kind of a decent move. And then another team, who's actually ironically my favorite team, the Cubs. They need pitching badly. Going after Roki Sasaki, the best pitching prospect from Japan, 21 years old. 84 overall might be a little generous, but again, I toned it down from what it actually was in the game. So you know, just to make the series a little interesting, get some of those guys in there that future prospects. I think there's another one in here somewhere. It's definitely not the A's. They don't spend money. It was the Rangers. Left field, Young Holy, 77 overall, B potential, 24 years old. Nothing crazy, but just some exciting players to spice things up in this series. So we'll go ahead and advance the regular season, and that'll be it for this episode. But in the next one, we will be taking on the Detroit Tigers, and I'll let you know about the lineups and rotations and who's in AA, AAA, all when that happens. But just be excited for that first game against Detroit at home, getting to see the Nashville Stadium. I already forgot what I called it. Maybe it's Music City Ballpark. I don't think it is, though. But anyway, that's going to do it. We'll see you in the next one. Take it easy.